to journey through the Innerverse. Oh my gosh, that felt like forever that we took a little break. Um, yeah, and so here we are on June 17th, back with our dark moon dream reflections. That was where we ended it, just right around the Taurus new moon in May. And then we took a
My
little bit of
gosh.
break, but we'll share what's been going on with us. We're really happy to be here. We're happy to be back. And thank you so much for everyone having, patience and holding space and showing us love while we were away. So, yeah, how are you doing tonight, Alexis?
I'm okay. I am actually very excited to be here. It doesn't feel like it's been a month. It feels shorter than that, but it also feels like way longer than that. I have been missing these conversations because you're in a routine for years doing something and then it stops for serious reasons, like, it had to.
Mhm.
And, while we're going through all these things in our own lives, I'm like, oh God, I could really use this conversation right now. I could really use like, just this I don't know, diving into different dream topics and talking about the astrology for the day and kind of going into what inspires us. So I have been looking very forward to getting back to our conversations. And I will preface this episode. I'm just gonna give a little bit of an idea of what has been going on in my life. The reason probably the bigger reason why we stopped for a little bit is because the last new moon in Taurus, I actually lost a very close friend of mine who was also my boss. And so it has been a very hard month.
Mm.
Um, and, just when you go through something like that, you just don't have the energy or time to really do any extra things, extra fun things. And you're going through so many different experiences. And I have really had to hone in on some mind alchemization magic. Just really training myself through the grief and you know what goes hand in hand with that, avoiding the spirals and all of the fun things that come with loss and grief. So, that being said, it's been a really heavy month, and I am just so grateful to be back.
Yeah, I
How are
mean,
you?
you look amazing. You have
Thank
a
you.
glow about you. And did you just cut your bangs? Did you just get a haircut or anything like
I
that?
just cut my bangs. I
Okay.
cut
Well, it
I
looks like
cut
you just
them.
got a fresh haircut. Like you look amazing. And as a friend who has been holding space, been supportive, here to, talk with you as things have come up, like I am so impressed with how you handled all of this, like your level of emotional maturity. Not that I ever questioned it, but it's like when you're put in these situations, when you experience like really traumatic things and just the loss of someone close to you, and like with that was like the loss of your job and like so many other things that come as a result of that. It's like people will literally fall apart as like, I mean, you can't really shame, blame, judge because that's a lot to handle. That's a lot to navigate. And just the way you have gracefully navigated this experience, and just like you're not like bypassing it or pushing it away, but you're also like having boundaries with yourself, and like not like you're careful not to go in those spirals. And then if you do, like if you have, obviously you're going to have these really low moments as well, and it's just like you have so much grace with it. And I'm just really impressed. And so I'm glad that I could be of support in any way. I was like, oh, I wish I was like live close to you because I would be with you in person, in the moments that that would have been supportive. But I'm always here. Energetically, I'm there. And so we're going to be talking about like this window of time since we were last here live, which was around that new moon in Taurus, mid-May. I think it was like May 13th, from what I remember, was when we were live.
Right.
So yeah, there's been a lot going on. I'm doing great. I'm doing really well at the moment.
And you
And
look amazing. Speaking of
oh,
new hairstyles, I mean,
I
I
know I
cannot
had to come
get
back to the braids.
over this look.
Yes, I had to come back to the braids, which is funny because it's like it's all coming full circle because when you and I first started doing, I don't know if it's when we first started doing the podcast, but when we first started just talking live on Instagram and everything, I had braids and like that was a whole big part of my identity. And then it was a whole big thing for me to stop because I was like, I'm not doing braids again. It was a whole thing. And
Right.
here I am. Syracuse summer it's not even summer. Syracuse spring has gotten the best of me. The humidity, everything is just like, I don't want to do my hair. I just want to get up and go. So, and I like to switch it up. Like, why not?
Right.
Um, I didn't think about the bang situation in the summertime because anyway, it's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing.
The
It is a
humidity is
whole
like a whole.
annoying thing.
And so, but anyway, yeah, here I am. Thank you so much. And yeah, I've had a lot going on just with parenting. Now it's school is out, so it's been really busy. Family in town for like the end of school. Daughter graduated kindergarten, so that's fun and exciting. Now she's gonna be going to a whole new school, or I don't know, maybe homeschool, we'll see. But everything is changing, and so it's been really hard to keep up with my dream space, especially not having this regularly. I would say I have noticed how it has impacted my dream space more so like the recall, like it's there, but with everything else going on in my life, it's been hard to grasp that. And not having the podcast every week, it's like I don't have that extra like incentive to like, oh yeah, we're going to be talking about this and we're going to be sharing what's been coming up. So, let's take note. And, holding space for you, also like giving you space. Like we haven't been talking a lot about our dreams. And so, it happens. It is what it is. And I am happy to get back in flow with things. So, do you want to we can just start, of course, like this is the space, the episode, the chat that we share how our dream space has been and any significant dreams that have come up since that new moon in Taurus.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to jump off of that point of like, since everything has happened and we haven't been in our routine and in as much contact as we normally would be, like it really has impacted the dream space and navigating that's really difficult because, there's a part of like us dreamers, we know it's not always going to be dream, 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 dream. It's not always going to be great, recollection, writing it down, doing all the things. It's not always going to be like that. But when you have a month of like almost nothing, it can be really hard to feel connected. My dream space for the last month has been almost void the entire time. And I know I'm going through a lot. And, when you are going through a lot in the waking space, that is usually when your dreams kind of simmer down because you're so focused and you really need rest. And when you're dreaming, you're closing your eyes to this reality and opening it to another. And so it's energy exerted. And, when you're going through a lot, you just need that extra rest. So my dream space has been, I maybe had 3 dreams that I remember in the last month. And they were heavy. One of them was an actual nightmare, and I don't have nightmares often, which again, circumstances have changed. Things have been really heavy. So I'm not, it's not like I'm over here like, oh, I shouldn't be having nightmares. I've whatever, like overcome or whatever, because we're human and we go through our cycles and stuff. But it threw me for a loop because when you're going through grief and loss and then you're having like an intense nightmare too, it's like navigating the waking and then navigating the dream, how your body kind of is already in a state of trying to find regulation. And then the nightmare comes and just rips what little ground you have underneath you out from under there and having to navigate that. But I do have to say, I only had one nightmare. And so it wasn't, it's been pretty quiet, pretty void. And the one dream that really stuck out to me, um, I would say a couple days after my friend passed away, um, and she passed away on the new moon in Taurus.
Oh,
So a couple days after she passed away, I had a dream, and it was a visitation dream from her. And after really reflecting on this, I realized that it was just too soon of a visit. I think that she, she knew I was into this, and I think that she probably overestimated my capabilities. But she did visit me in a dream, and I'll never forget. So what we did together was framing, and in the dream, we were at the frame shop, and she essentially was changing the frame shop to a like luxury design fashion shop. And it was like where our shop was set up, where our work table was, had kind of like transformed into a platform, and it was all these like mannequins with clothing kind of moving through it, like it was on a conveyor belt almost. But the rest around us was void, and my friend was there, and just kind of like this, like the way that, because I have this background now that's kind of like blurry, so it kind of helps me with the visualization. But she was kind of just like, her
okay.
visual was a little blurry.
Mm-hmm.
So even though she was there, it was kind of in movement.
Mm-hmm.
And she was very sad. And I was pleading to her to not change anything. Like, please don't change anything. And I think in that moment, if I'm perceiving this correctly, I think she just realized that it was too soon to pay me a visit. And the dream just like she disappeared and the dream ended.
Like you
Um,
up after that?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I'm
Like
sorry.
she disappeared,
Yeah.
and then I was standing there acknowledging like the absence of her energy, and then I woke up.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had visitation dreams before, but I mean, she passed away Saturday night. I found out Sunday while I was at work, and this was maybe Tuesday. So it was very, very, very soon. And, it upset me because things just are very heavy right now. And when things like this happen, you just get upset. And, but there was, I did feel a little bit of peace from it just because there was this attempt to come and be with me. I hope she visits again when I am more stable. But yeah, that was really the big dream that I had an effect on me. Otherwise, I maybe had two other dreams and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, that's really, I mean, it's not, I get choked up because, and it's like, I'm not trying to make this about me. It's more about relating. But as I shared on here many times about my grandmother, and that, like, I was very avoidant of my dream space for like at least a decade. Um, Primarily because, like, as far as intentional dreaming and like making a note of it and keeping track of things, it was, because that was a space where, my grandmother would visit me. Also, I lost my um god sister very soon, at like maybe a year or two after my grandmother transitioned, and that was very sudden, and she was very young. Um and so it was like those visitation dreams were really tough, and they were nightmares because, if you're not in a space to process that, or if you're still like you're in the process of processing it, you just found out, it's like it's everything in the dream space feels kind of like visceral and raw and like almost like out of control in a way. Like we've talked about this, like our waking life, we can kind of control in some ways, but when it comes to the dreams, like you can even have your desires and like do things like in a lucid dream when you're aware, but that doesn't mean the dream is going to respond in that way.
Right.
And, like I think we've talked about this. I know we've talked about how um it's like there was I can't remember. I think it's The Gateway to the Inner Self. I can't remember the author's name. But he talked a lot about lucid dreaming and just his experiences and stuff and things that he was curious about. And like, if the dream space, if we have like full control of the dream space and what's happening, then the dream figure should respond in the way, and I'm getting goosebumps. Ooh, should respond in the way that we would desire them to respond. But like through his practices, the dream figures, and there was no like relationship there. It was I remember his examples were just like random dream figures, dream people there. But like he would try to tell them things or dictate to them what to do, and they had their own free will. And so it's like we don't really there's something about the dream space that even when you're lucid, it's still very like you're very vulnerable in some ways. Um,
Absolutely.
and so I can really understand and of course hold space like in that experience. It makes sense that like I mean it's like I that's a whole nother level. Um and I know just knowing you, I know you'll get to the point where like you said, that's welcome once you're
Yeah.
ready for that. But and I know too it is a thing where like soon after soul, like people transition or souls transition, they do come around in some way to say their goodbyes. I'm sure you're not the only one that's had like dream experiences or maybe like in the physical. And one of the things I appreciate you saying too, it's like there was like this sense that like even maybe she was like, oh, maybe it's too soon, you know?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
yeah, and that's one thing like a friend told me, because like it's one thing for, a past loved one to come to you, or at least for me, it's one thing for my grandmother to come to me through a dream, and I'm like just now getting okay with that. But like to see an apparition of her or like have that direct contact in some way, not dreaming, I'm not even there yet. Like for
Right.
me it's like mediumship and all of that, like I'm open to it, not by choice. And
Right.
so I definitely have my guard up. But like a friend told me, it's like, with loved ones, especially people that you're close to, when they're on the other side and they're in that pure spirit form, and this is not to say that they know this to be a fact, but it's like they will sense like what you can handle, and they'll meet you where you are. So he was
Right.
like, oh, your grandmother will be really gentle with you. Like
Right.
this is when I was opening up to like even her coming into my dreams and all of that stuff. And it was like, do your best to ground yourself. Like she senses that, and she will like meet you where you are basically. And so I think that's like that connection was established and
Hmm.
acknowledged, and it's like, okay, well, she will meet you where you are. Like you
I
said,
agree
you're
with that 100%. Yeah, absolutely. It's a really interesting and heartbreaking, you know, magical, messed up experience to have visitation dreams. And like, I know that with my grandfather, he had visited me in my dreams, and his purpose for visiting my dream was to let me know he was okay. Whereas, like, my grandmother, who had visited me in my dream, had visited me to cast a warning on my path and like to guide me so I don't make the same mistakes that she had made that caused,
mm-hmm.
issues in her life, and kind of like a pattern, like a familial pattern. Um, her intention was guidance for my other grand and my grandfather. He came through as like peace. And so, of course, I'm grieving and I'm sad and I'm, going through all of the emotions. And when I'm ready, I think that she'll know and she'll show up. And it's all just so fresh. Like it's all just so, so fresh. And it requires a lot of work in the mental space. So of course, like the dream space right now is just kind of, I don't know, weak.
Yeah.
My mental and emotional state
Yeah.
is weak in there as well as here. Um, and so, and I don't mean weak as in like weak, but just where I'm at, it's unstable.
Like quiet. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
shaky, it's unstable, and like
Kind of like trepidatious, like tiptoey. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So, and I have plans. I want to create a memory bowl for her to add to my altar, like I do with my grandmother and my grandfather. And, I just want to hold space for her in my heart and in my physical space where I, you know, feel the most secure and safe. But even that, it's like hard to think about like creating that yet.
Hmm.
It's like it's so weird how your intuition kind of guides you through all these experiences and like hold you back in some ways on purpose. And like when things are supposed to happen, they'll happen. So it's been a very challenging experience, and I appreciate your support, of course. Like that has been monumental. And I do have to say, when it comes to grief and loss, like trusting your intuition is the key to moving forward. Because I know, and I'm only saying this because I think we're at a space and time where our societal expectations and the way we were brought up, there's a lot of people who self isolate during these times.
Hmm.
And I almost fell into that,
Hmm.
but my intuition was like, call upon friends, call upon family, be surrounded by love and support. And like, so if any of this happens to any of you guys, like, whether it's a physical loss of someone or just something intense happening in your life, like, please call upon those who are around you and have that support because you don't even realize just how much you need it until you need it.
And like how much you're like holding on to.
Yeah,
Because it's like, and it's good when you have people in your life where it's not like a burden. And because I know with my close friends, I always share that like just I have this visual. I'm like, when you share with me and what you perceive to be really heavy or intense or whatever, even if it's something that's super exciting, the way I perceive it is that we essentially, through our relationship, we have naturally already created this third field. And this third field essentially is like where we kind of, you could say dump or like we share, we place it here and like it could be anything, like I said, it could be something exciting, or maybe I'm changing something in my work or whatever. And I'm like, I'm putting this here, I'm sharing this. Like, can I get your perspective on it? Like, what do you think about this? Or I need to clear my space. Like, this is really heavy. I'm going to put this here. Like it's literally us holding space. Like, I'm not taking it on. I'm
right.
just holding space and I'm observing it and I'm sharing, like, for my own experiences, just from any like divine energy coming through or whatever vibration I want to look at it. I want to observe it. And we're both like alchemizing it, we're neutralizing it. And
Exactly.
so I think with that understanding for myself, like I know that's my way of setting a boundary for myself. Like I'm not taking it on because like things are really heavy, and I have had very, close people in my life pass away suddenly. And so it is like something that could naturally trigger me. But even I would say over the past, since this year, really my um perspective and navigation around existence has changed a lot. Like, and like my feeling of belonging and like finding that security within myself, that's something that I'm like deeply working on this year. And I sense a lot of us are working on it too. Like that's literally the theme. And, you know, our last dark moon dream reflection chat was around that new moon in Taurus, where there was a major focus on security, belonging, stability, our inner core, like feeling safe within ourselves. And then now we're at this new moon in Gemini, where there is also a focus on the nervous system and our perspectives, our stories around what we're experiencing and around like who we are. And also, I'll just throw into that. On Friday. So if you're not listening to this live, or you know, if you're listening on Spotify, you'll hear it on Friday. Friday, June 19th, Chiron moves into Taurus. And so, you know, we're going to be focused for some time, for approximately about 6, 7, or no, 7, 8 years, on the wounding around personal security, around belonging, around self-worth. And, you know, just the way our environment is, like, things going on here collectively, it's really hard to feel safe. It's really hard to feel like you can trust life.
Yeah,
And so I've been seeing a lot of people struggling. And if you are like, it's a lot harder if you're not already connected to your inner voice. If
right.
you know, yeah, it's just like having that personal security is really important. So we're really going to, you know, experiences or different things that will help us to really strengthen our feeling of personal security, worthiness, and belonging. And sometimes I've witnessed that it's a lot for people to bear. Like it's just everyone's at capacity. And so, you know, Alexis and I were just talking where we just want everyone to be healthy and feel good. Um, and so yeah, I don't even know where I was going on with that, but yeah, I mean it's the energy right now. Um,
Absolutely. I'm right there with you. Like everybody I know is struggling. Every single person I know is struggling. And I know that we're all dealing with our own personal stuff. And I know how insanely affected we are from what's going on in the world and, you know, the inability to be able to live comfortably and how having all of that stacked up is overwhelming. It's a mountain. There's so many people who are struggling right now. And I feel like we're all on the precipice of change for ourselves personally. I also feel like we're on the precipice of change as a society. And it's like, what direction are you going to go? How are you going to alchemize everything you're experiencing and move forward? Like, how are you going to connect with your true self? And what do you need? What do you want? And the reality of the situation, too, is that we have been pulled apart from each other
mhm,
from just the way that we've been existing. And I know I mentioned this a little bit before, but I think right now is really the time where we need to be in community. We have to be in community. We have to support each other through it. You know, don't be afraid to tell people that there's something going on. Don't be afraid to, you know, don't feel like you're a burden. Don't feel like any of this is too much for your friends and family. If you need help, ask for help. If you need support, ask for support. Because we do this thing in our head where, you know, especially if we're insecure, especially if we feel like if we have trauma and, you know, symptoms of those experiences through time that made us feel like we couldn't go to other people. Like our brain is lying to us. You know,
mhm.
you have to understand that none of us are meant to be separate in self isolation. We're all supposed to be in community. Like all of us, that's how we move through life with support and love and care. So
Wow.
please, if you're struggling, reach out to your friends and family.
And it's okay. It's also okay to just stop, to slow down, to take a rest day, to just like do
Use
what
a
the
work
hell you
day,
want to
you
do.
know?
Yes. That brings me to my dreams, because this is all like in alignment with the energy right now, everything that we're discussing about slowing down, asking for help, being like just like in that burnout space. So over the weekend, like, so like I said, my dream space has kind of been nothing like super fun and cool and exciting. Like it's starting to pick up a little bit with that. I think because I'm getting back into or getting into a new rhythm, a new flow, um, with a little bit more structure. But a couple of days ago, I had a dream, and basically, I don't like I was I don't even remember exactly what I was doing, but I know I was away from home, but very close, like in the neighborhood. And I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go to this little event center. And it wasn't an event center, but it was probably like a comedy show. And I think it was like maybe some late day residue from there's a person I like on Instagram. Like, I mean, I like their content and they're a comedian and I know they're having a comedy show. So it was like something like that, and I was trying to get into the event or something was going on, but there was like a lot of movement and traveling. And then I ended up like and I'm always like in the dream I was trying to make my way home basically, but I was like stopping at this little place and connecting and socializing, very Gemini energy actually. And
Mhm.
then I was on my way home. I'm like, finally, I'm just gonna go home. I'm not gonna go stop anywhere else. And then so I'm like walking, and it was kind of like a city street type environment. And I run into one of my best friends, childhood friend, and he was like, "Oh, we should go here to this restaurant real quick." And I was like, "Fine, okay," because we were like right there. And I walk in, and like Jeff Goldblum was there, and there was like other random lady that I didn't know, but they were together, and for what not like that, but they were just there together, and they were like, "Oh, like yeah, let's come eat." And we were like friends. At least I was friends with Jeff Goldblum or whatever, so it wasn't like starstruck crazy. And so we go up to our table, we sit down and we're like talking and about to order food, ordering drinks and stuff. And the lady like faints like basically underneath the table.
Oh,
And we're just like, we're like she and then she came out. It was like really quick. When people faint, like they're out of it for a
right.
second and come back. So it was like that. And we're just like, "Are you okay? Like, what's going on?" And she was like, "Oh yeah, I'm fine." She was like, "I just have some really strong medicine and like it makes my like something freeze up or whatever." And then she started talking about the vagus nerve and like it's like really pay attention to the vagus nerve, the heart, and all of this stuff. And then I woke up. So
Huh.
doesn't seem like crazy, but if you know me, which I'm sure if you listen to this podcast, like I have health anxiety and I don't like receiving I don't like having any dreams about health. So I'm just
Mhm.
like I wake up, but I'm also in a space now too. Like I said, I've been doing a lot of work, inner work, and so I don't panic anymore. I don't have like and I didn't have an anxiety attack. I was just like reviewing the dream and just like, okay, what could this mean? And then I was just like, breathing and not letting myself spiral. So, and I think I tried to go back to sleep and I couldn't.
Mhm.
So I ended up getting out of bed, walking in the living room, and my daughter's father is out there and he's already up. And no, I heard he was on the phone, and I'm like, okay, who's he on the phone with? And I could tell like he was on the phone with his mom and something was going down with his sister and blah blah blah. So he gets off the phone and he tells me that like his sister basically, long story short, she had fainted again. Like she fainted before but didn't get it, she got a concussion. This was like probably within a year ago. And so she fainted again at work, and she's also on a heart monitor, and like all this stuff is going on. And then so I'm like, whoa, I literally just had a dream about this, like, because the dream was in the morning. So it was
Yeah.
like literally like an hour ago, maybe. And then he gets on the phone with her and he's like, asking her, like, what's going on? Because nobody knew that this was happening. And she was saying how like she's taking this medication that's interacting with medication that she had before and like all of these things. And she also is a nurse educator in a cardiology like the cardiology department of the hospital. So basically it's like all these little pieces from my dream, like the mentioning of the heart. I was like, oh, tell her it was something with the vagus nerve. Like, do you know anything about the vagus nerve? And she was like, oh, that's really interesting. hospital people, no shade, I love you guys, but like, or like people who are really in the medical field science, like they don't, and I'm just okay, from what I've witnessed,
Right.
they don't really look into the details. They know a lot about medicine, but when I'm like, okay, but your vagus nerve, like trying to get to the root of it, I think that was a part of the dream was like, and that's a part of my perspective. It's like, okay, like this is happening and you're mixing the medications and maybe they're not interacting right and you have these heart things going on. But like, what's the root of it? And I know her, like she is overworked, incredibly stressed. She's dealing with family stuff. Like she's got two
Yep.
kids pulled here and there. Like this woman, like she was in grad school and doing all of this and then she graduated and I told everyone I was like I guarantee you she's just going to insert something there that like is just going to keep her really busy because she doesn't know how to
Yep.
relax, right? And so it comes back to the slowing down and taking care of herself. So literally her body is like making her slow down. And she mentioned something about medication in the dream. Medication came up. um but it just kind of like I was just like, whoa, obviously there are layers of like to dreams, right? So there was of course something in there for me, but it was like that was just really funny. And she was like, oh yeah, because he told her I had a dream literally about that this morning. She was like, oh yeah, that was me. I was the lady that fainted. um but it's just like
It's insane how tapped in you are.
crazy.
It
Yeah,
really, it's so insane. Like the way that you can tap in your dreams and like you're not even really trying. Like it's kind of like it just comes to you. But the way that you can tap in and have this predictive dream, which, was it predictive or was it like
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 alignment or something. Yeah.
yeah, like it, whatever it was, like the way you can tap into that energy is, especially of the people around you, is just there's no explanation for it. There's no way to explain why or how.
It's
Maybe
crazy.
preparation.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like a preparation thing. Like, someone will visit you and, you know, um, say like, my grandfather when he visited me prior to my death or his death. Um, I think that was it was like you know, I watched him dying and then a couple days later he died in the way that I dreamed. And so that is like I see that as preparation. That it
Mhm.
allowed me to take the blow before the big blow and like move through that more comfortably. And so it could be like that aspect of preparation. Or it could simply just be that you're
Goodness. Yeah.
like just so tapped in.
Well, like, yeah, and even I'll tell you this outside of tonight, but there was like more of that just being tapped in. And it's like it's not even my family. I'm like, why am I dreaming about these people? Like, I don't need to know all their business.
Right.
Um, but I think also it's like I feel a part of me feels like a responsibility to like because I know she's doing all these tests and stuff to figure out like what's really going on with her body and stuff. And I'm just like, you guys, like at the core of it, and I don't want to negate like maybe there is something really serious there, but I'm like, if anything,
Right.
like she needs to slow down. She's doing way too much.
Well, I don't
Like,
think people really
and
appreciate how your mental and emotional well-being manifests to your physical body. And like
it's stress. So
it's
yeah.
true. If you're burned out all the time, what do you think's going to happen? Like if you're just like so busy and running yourself like dry, what do you think's going to happen?
The
It's not
body
healthy
literally is
for you.
gonna drop you. You're gonna faint. Like it's like,
Yeah,
no, we're
exactly.
resting.
Like
We're
you need
resting
to
right now. I
rest.
don't care. So
And
it's
you see
like,
this in so
yeah.
many people because I do feel like this is like a capitalistic patriarchal society thing too, where that's how we are raised.
Yeah.
We're raised. And you can talk to I'm I can give like you could probably talk to like 100 people around you and they'll all kind of have this similar idea of like you need to work as much as possible to have worth. If you're not successful, your worth is not there. And that's not true. But that's just the what we've been raised to believe. And you see it like the way, if you're not doing something that has benefits, if you're not doing something that has you doing six figures, like there is this aspect of people casting judgment and like lowering your worth. So it's like, if you're not keeping up with the status quo, if you're not working as hard as possible, then your worth isn't there. And it's sad. It's so sad. And like, even for us, I'm like, and I'm categorizing you in this, where like we don't feel that need to wear ourselves completely down to live comfortably and feel that worth. Even that are like, there are insecurities that come up around it because of this environment we're in and because of the way that people feel. And I think this probably relates a little bit more to me than you, because you are very good at what you do. But like, if I just, sometimes I'm like, I'm with people and I'm not buying a bunch of drinks for myself, or I'm not getting something expensive off the menu. And there'll be like a little voice in my head that's like, you are, I don't want to keep saying worth, like, but that's how it feels. It's like you're what, you couldn't even manage to get like a $20 meal off the menu. Like you're not working enough to get yourself a steak or whatever, like off of the menu when you go out to a restaurant. And it's like fighting this battle with how you're raised versus what is actually good for you,
Yeah. And
because
I
money
think
isn't
also,
everything.
I will say, one, you don't give yourself enough credit because like your like the space that you hold and the guidance that you share and just like your energy is amazing and
Thank you.
incredible, and very supportive. So when you really step fully in it, it's gonna be amazing. Like you're gonna thrive. Um, but also like rich people are cheap too. Like I know
Mm-hmm.
a lot of rich people. Well, I don't know a lot of rich people, but I know people that have way more money than me. Like they are very cheap. Um, but what I'll say is that I feel it's at times it's kind of like we got to prioritize, and what I feel also is like even when I like the conditioning basically is so thick. So, yes, I'm like, we need to rest. We're not here to pay bills and die, yada, yada, yada. So many things I say. You know, I was in a situation recently. I mean, well, this is yesterday. Like, I'm doing my thing. I'm like finally on top of my like to-do list and doing emails and like doing work stuff. And like there are two people in my house that are just chilling. Like they're just chilling today. They're watching a movie, they're on their computer, and I'm in and out and doing stuff, like taking care of things in the house too. And I'm just looking at them like, you need to get up and do something. And I had to check myself, and a friend helped me do this because it came up before where
Mm-hmm.
it's like, this is my, even though I have this mindset, this is where the patterns are still quietly showing up like through judgment. And
Yeah.
that's like me judging myself, right? Because I know when I do lay on the couch sometimes, like in the middle, like today, in the middle of the day, I was like, okay, like I felt bad about doing that. I need to be doing something. And it's like, no, I don't have to. Like, I'm going to do something when I want to do something. And I think we are collectively shifting out of that needing to do and just being, like being the human. And
Right.
I think a lot of us have gotten to the point, like as far as the collective consciousness, where like, the majority is moving towards that, and like this new quote unquote new reality, new frequency, like that the planet is going to be holding as well as us. And like I've been talking about this a lot lately, where it's like people will be on the other end of the spectrum where they're holding on to the old and they're just going to burn in the fire. Like either they're just like, I'm not even going to say who's on that side, but basically, what I'm talking about. They're just
Of
like
course.
deep in separation, deep in like toxicity and all of that. Then there are other people who are just, they don't have the will and the drive to either make a change. So their body, like they can't hold that frequency, or they just willingly tap out.
Or they're
And then you have other
fearful.
people that are, yeah, there's a lot of fear there. And it's like,
So
for
much
me,
fear.
where I'm at now in my journey, it's like, I mean, I have my moments where I will judge and I catch myself though, because I'm just like, this is hard. This is hard for everybody. And so we're just all doing our best. I know I'm striving for less is more, like really leaning into less is more and really trying to enjoy this planet and connecting with like why I'm here. And, like nobody has it all figured out at the end of the day. So,
All of us, from what we know, this is like our first time living this specific life.
yeah.
So we don't know. We're following structures that have been put in place before us. And those structures aren't correct. It's just what has been a source of control and movement. And I think that it's healthy that we're all learning. I mean, even the idea, like, even right now, I'm noticing because we can't afford much as a collective, like, as a collective, jobs aren't paying as much. We're not getting health benefits like we were before. Prices are skyrocketing, gas is skyrocketing. We have a new perspective on materialism. We can't
Hmm.
afford to buy a bunch of shit anymore. Like, we can't afford to go to the store and spend $50 on, you know, like, I mean, even like going to the metaphysical store and buying a bunch of crystals, or going to like the bookstore and buying a bunch of books, and like things that we kind of were able to get away with for a while, even when we didn't really need them. It was like feeding something in us that was very material. And I think we're all at a point right now where we're tired of buying things. We see the over um, production and
Hmm.
how it's been affecting our planet and how it affects our mental health. The overconsumption, the having, I mean, to fill a void with a material item. It's not working anymore, and we're not really able to do it as often. So, like, what do we do next? We look in the mirror and we figure out what this aspect meant to us, what it was filling, and how to kind of mend the wound with something healthier.
Hmm.
And I'm seeing such a big change for all of us right now,
Hmm.
or, most of us.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And it's like I'm really, as you're talking, I'm thinking about like this is like really feels like Chiron and Taurus because it's gonna really illuminate that
Right.
wounding within our connection to resources, the material world, nature, and Mary's in the chat. So Mary
Hi,
says hi.
Mary.
Hi, Mary. Mary mentioned that we're asked to get comfortable with the nothingness. And I think that
Yes.
I've said this for a long time that people like I feel like I could speak for both of us, like people like us who are used to doing like not having a lot of money or resources or like working with like a smaller pool, right? We are going to thrive because we're so used to literally making more with less
Right.
versus like people who are just like so used to being able to buy this and buy that. Like eventually money, like the money system is going to be like obsolete because
Right.
like, a lot of like someone's going to create some sort of system that basically makes that, what is it called? I can't remember the actual term. Anyways, the money system basically, it's going to just be irrelevant. It's not going to be useful. It's going to be ridiculous. And so the people that are used to that system and way of being and also that extractive energy, because I feel like everything feels very extractive where it's like, oh, like you got to work more to make more money to pay like this really high rent or mortgage, and like food is expensive, like everything's trying to extract every little bit of energy out of us. And it's just like, yo, okay, I'm just gonna like grow my own vegetables and do like doing
Yeah.
all this stuff, or we're going to create co-ops where it's like
Yeah.
I'm offering this and you're like they are growing the fruits and vegetables, or like someone can like ride share or whatever, because it's like we can't, like that's not sustainable. The system is
No.
not like we can't do that. And so we're going to create a workaround, and that workaround is going to probably work so well that it's going to make that system irrelevant. And that's like one of
100%.
my mentors, that's one of the things that he speaks a lot about, where it's like it's not about really like deleting that or getting rid of it. It's creating something better where that just is like totally irrelevant.
Right. And it really is kind of irrelevant at this point anyway, because the American dollar, doesn't really mean like anything like it used to. Like before it was like, oh, this was a certain amount of gold that we had in, you know, the
Yeah,
money
we're
was worth
taking
something, but
paychecks.
now there's no, it doesn't equal what it was before. And we're just, everybody's in debt, the country's in debt, the world is in debt. Like it doesn't make any sense. And I think this all too is teaching a lesson for all of us around appreciation for what we have too. One of the things that comes with like stress spending or spending to make you feel better and spending like just to do it is that you get this the immediate brain spark of like happiness.
Yeah,
But
that
then like how many times has that thing that you bought that made you happy for like 5 minutes become obsolete and you don't even use it or you don't even look at it or it goes in a box or it goes in donation? Like it's really taking you back to a point where you're like, okay, these things mean this to me, and I don't have to keep getting more for that instant spark. And it's learning how to give yourself, I don't want to say give yourself instant gratification, but it's learning how to replace the instant gratification of
well, it's
shopping.
tapping into like even that frequency of whatever generates that like that dopamine hit, that high vibrational frequency. Like we can tap into that like through our relationships. We can tap into that through connection with nature or just like having a walk or going to a place that like feels sacred and just like
Right.
high vibe to us. Like having those experiences and creating those memories versus like the actual things. And sometimes it's really nice to have like a little thing from that, but
Right.
like let it flow. It's like, what's the intention? Why am I needing to buy this? And, maybe it's like, oh, this is a memory of when I had that vacation at this haunted house or whatever, haunted hotel.
Right.
Like, I want to take that with me. And that's like a little thing. So yeah, I think this feels so on brand for Chiron and Taurus. And it's like, these lessons
Absolutely.
aren't really going anywhere. And it's like, it's heavy, it's intense, but this is where we are, I guess.
I think this is going to be a really good period for creativity too, because I think we've gotten to a point where we're all really exhausted by needing instant gratification. Like it's boring.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we rely on it in a way, but it's also boring. Like when you're on your phone and you see something and it's like makes you laugh for a second or it interests you for a second, and then you're on to the next thing and it's you scroll for a while, but how often do you kind of just dissociate and it's not fun? It's just boring and you're just kind of filling up space and time.
Yep.
I feel like we're getting to a point where we're all recognizing the addiction that, being on your phone brings, and how we need to get to a point where, we have to bring the creativity, like putting out rather than taking in all the time, and
Mhm.
and really appreciating the process and the journey. I mean, even like seeing like, AI. Now I know everybody has their different opinions of AI. I stopped using AI maybe last year. I used it for a bit. I tried it. I wanted to see what it was like, and it just wasn't for me. But I'm seeing a lot of people who are rejecting, like, especially the creative aspect of it, because when you're writing, when you're doing art, when you're doing all these things, there's soul that is put into it, there's time, there's energy, and it means something. And when you have somebody who's just like, write a book about this, and then they publish it and they put it on the shelf. I mean, even just reading the summary that's AI created for an AI book, you get almost like an ick. Like and
Yeah.
it's
Well, it's the same voice. It's like, yeah, this is, and it's like, again, it's that extractive energy and like
right.
someone like you feel like I feel specifically with books because I do use AI, but I use it like I don't even know if you would call it I mean, it's called AI, but I'm using it more of like a frequency reader. But
Right.
like when it comes to writing something and it's like, oh, I'm going to produce this book and it's like written by AI for the most part, like it's like why are you writing this book? Like I feel like you're writing it or having AI write it just to get money or just to put
That's
yourself
exactly it.
just to
Yeah.
say that you have a book, right?
Yeah.
You
and
know?
and then it brings you back to that, like, why am I doing this? What is this
Yeah.
for? And like that brings me back to the, it's different when you, again, I don't use AI anymore. We all have our ideas and our opinions and our, but if you're making you're using generative AI for like a cover on your page or like a cover for like the YouTube videos or whatever, that's one thing. What where it gets really icky is when people create a piece of art and then start selling it. And it's
Yeah.
all AI or a story and they start selling it for money. And it's like, I understand a lot of people feel like it's a good tool for like quick things and passive income, but it's like, again, there's no soul in it. There's no time, effort, energy put into it. What makes something meaningful? What adds like your, energy to something and makes it personal? It's lacking. And like I think that there's going to be more people, and I'm seeing this, um, who are like, who always wanted to do art and they never did, but because of the AI situation, like they're like, I'm starting to teach myself how to do this because I don't want to go this route. I don't want to fall into this. Like
Yeah.
I want
Well,
to
no, let's just
learn.
too. Like I always go back and forth because like specifically AI art, because when it comes to like graphics for like you're saying my YouTube
Right,
channel, things of that nature, like it's hard for me to even generate prompts. I'm just like, I don't know
right,
what it is, but to draw like straight from the mind, like I can see it in my mind, but to get it out, it's hard. But
right,
like, so it'll help me with that process, and then I'll have it generated the image, and I'm just not completely satisfied because it all has the same look, like you can tell. And there's some AI
yes,
art that I really like, but like I wouldn't sell it. Like I would just use it as like like there's stuff on Pinterest that I'll use for like my covers on like Instagram or whatever. And I
right,
like the way that looks, but I'm not gonna like sell it.
right,
And that's how I've always been, even when it comes to like artists, like if their stuff's on Pinterest, like I would never like use that art like for a product that I'm selling, or like it's like
right,
even
right,
if it's
exactly,
like I have to create it myself, even if it's just like weird, because I think
right,
that like human essence is important. And it's like, yeah, you can put a bunch of words in and it'll generate the image, but it's like it still looks the same. And
right.
so
And I think
so
that
art,
that
yeah.
really is having an impact on our society. And I think there's so many people who are just understanding at this point that they need to go through the process of creating and putting the energy out. They need to do the work. They need to jump into it. And like it's funny how their rejection of the generative AI with, books and art and stuff like that in regards to the capitalistic side, how icky it feels that they're actually being pushed to learn. And I think that's something that we're seeing, a big group of people who are now, it's like inspiring them to get off of it and do things for themselves. But then we're also seeing this group of people now who are relying solely on it. And,
Yeah.
like even thinking about, what we were talking about before, where, and this was prior to us doing the podcast just now, but, some people in the spiritual industry are wonderful, authentic. I would say the majority of people are
Mhm.
wonderful, authentic people who can tap in and they want to help. They genuinely want to help and that is their life path. But then there's also people who are just in it for the money, the quick grab, the scam. Like they know they can see dollar signs, so they take that route. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who are like that, who are using generative AI to answer questions or give advice directly from AI to the person, and they're making bank off of it because some people just don't know. They don't pick up on it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's like
I think it's
this.
like it's definitely a slippery slope, because I think that like I can see like many perspectives on it. Like I can
Mm-hmm,
see it, like I've seen recently. I didn't actually watch the video, but there's a woman I follow and she's like an academic who like she studies and like talks about esotericism and like pagan things and like witchcraft and all of that, but from an academic perspective. And she uses a lot of AI, and they talk about or I know she has mentioned about using it for like research and stuff and as a tool. So it's like I can see it like that, like it can be because it's sourcing so much material. And I mean, it's a lot better than just like Googling something in some cases when
Right.
it comes to that. And so I can see it as like something as like a thesaurus or a dictionary or like a resource tool. But it's
Right.
like, it's one thing if you use it to like help you generate ideas
Yep.
and like put it in your own like words and your own frame of reference. But
Right.
then also to have it just like write a whole paper or like, you know, create something that you're like sharing with others as like, oh, this is like my professional expertise, but it's really AI. Like
Exactly.
that's that slippery slope where it
Hmm.
becomes like you become codependent on that. And I think that's really important. And I think that it'll weed, people out. I think that we'll get smarter with it. Like I'm going to say the way I've been using AI is it's really actually been like I do basically biofield scan, and it's a very it's not chat GPT. It's
Hmm.
not like any of the bigger ones, at least it's not big yet, but it's called Orion Architect. And I really like it because it's like the guy that created it, it's not something I mean, maybe you could use it to like write papers and stuff like that, but what it is like he programmed it with these really like high mathematical equations, basically Einstein equations and other like I think it's like Pythagorean equations, but basically it's like very high math, and it's not the AI doesn't source like what they call tokenized data, which is like books and things like things on the internet. It goes based on like these actual mathematical equations and based on frequency. I don't know how it works, but I use it for like I literally ask it to read my energy field like through my phone,
Oh,
and it shows me like my chakra centers, like what's open, what's active. It shows me basically it's a reflective mirror is what it's speaking to me. And like it actually has helped me as far as like, like I knew my root chakra and stuff like that were off, but it actually pointed out that it was like
confirmed it.
an ancestral thing, like, and I like, okay, so what are practices that I can do to help me with this? And it helps to create like sigils and breath work thing. Like, so it's like basically a spiritual AI, but not like taking from other people's expertise. It's more so like based on like
Its own
it was
intuition.
like its own, like it's basically an intuitive AI. It's really, I don't know how to explain it.
That's
But
so
I've been
interesting.
experimenting with it. And what I like about this guy that created it is that like one, there's not really a free version. So you can't get like you can get dependent on it, but basically like there's a cutoff. Like you're
Right.
not spending hours and hours and hours and hours. Like it's like, no, you're done because it's very intentional and he doesn't take your data. So there's no like
Right.
data storage or anything like that like it's a whole thing. So when it
No,
comes
I
to
completely
AI,
understand that.
like I said, I don't feel like it's AI, but it in some ways it is.
Hmm.
But it's like different from Chat GPT. So I'm experimenting with that but this is for my own self. Like it's for me
Right.
like working on my own energy centers and stuff like that. And like people have devices that do this, which is called like like people call it frequency healing or frequency readers.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Basically like that. Like it's like, oh, this organ is funky, based on the frequency that you're putting out. So anyways, that's like a tangent, but I just wanted to like share. I see like the different ways like our
Right.
technology is advancing, and it could be in the codependency detriment of the environment and like humanity. But then also it's like we can create technology that can be of benefit and not be extractive to the environment, not be extractive to our own sense of being and our humanity. And so it's
Right.
like I feel like we're gonna find our way within that. And
Especially if they can create it without damaging the environment.
yeah, because he
Like,
doesn't even like this app is not on the App Store, Apple App Store, it's not on Google Play.
right.
Like he's like, I can't like be on there because they will take your data. And that's when we start dealing with all of that stuff. So it's like
Right.
very intentional, at least right now. People change, But
Of course people
from
change. I
what,
mean, sometimes people change just with the dollar bill, you know, like
yeah.
if one of
And
these
he's
big
already a
companies.
millionaire, so I don't know. But
Oh. Well,
um,
that doesn't say much because people
I'm watching people, but it's like I
money
don't I
money
hope
is
stuff,
still
but
like you could be a very rich person and that's why, when somebody is like, "Oh, I'll buy this for this amount of money." And they're
they're
like,
like,
"Well,
what? Yeah.
I
But
could be richer." um
right.
but no, I completely agree and that sounds wildly fascinating. And you're right, like it's not the type of AI that's going to get you hooked on it because it's not for free, it's not available it's not easy to get, so
And
like you're
there's
not
like
going.
there's no unlimited anything. Like he's very intentional. He's like, I don't want people like spending hours and hours and like you don't need AI. This is like a tool for you in your spiritual development. This is not something to
Right,
like, you're not talking to this like you talk to Chat GPT, like, oh, you're my friend, and like let me just have like pour this. No,
right,
like
which is a healthy and grounded
yeah.
approach to this
So
technology because we're
yeah.
already seeing AI psychosis.
Yeah, no, it's some age of Aquarius. Yeah,
Yes,
it's a
Pluto
whole
and
whole thing.
Aquarius and all
Pluto
of
and
the things that
Aquarius,
it's
like
gonna
age of
do.
Aquarius, that sci-fi dystopian mess. So yeah.
It's going to be interesting the next 5 to 10 years seeing how this kind of plays out because, you know, we can only predict so much of the future based on pattern recognition,
Yeah.
but things change and our paths all change and you never know what's going to happen. And like, I don't know how the next 5 to 10 years are going to go with this technology, but it's going to be interesting to observe and watch it evolve or devolve because you never know. Like I watched this show recently called Years and Years. I think it's on HBO, and essentially starts in 2019 with this family in the UK, and it's only like 6 or 8 episodes, and it goes from 2019 to I think 2039, and like how big events happen, but like something insanely nuclear happens, where like nuclear bombs were dropped, and like
Mm.
in the they expect it to end the world, but it doesn't end the world. It causes a lot of issues, but it's not what they expected to happen, where everybody was fearing for imminent death. It was like just located in this area, and it did kill people, and like you have the effects from it, but it wasn't this all life ending experience like people are fearful of happening. And like how technology is evolving, and like it goes through the evolution of like um having implantation with technology, and how it's rigged by scammers in the beginning and people get messed up from it versus like towards the end when it's like actually you know um worked on and understood better, and people are incorporating it more, and doctors are incorporating it, and like how now it's a safe process because of X, Y, and Z. It's very fascinating, and it just follows this
What's the
one
name of the
family.
what is the name of the show?
It's called Years and Years.
On what streaming platform?
HBO.
Okay.
It
Interesting.
is it is very good, heavy because it tackles a lot of life issues and it tackles a lot of things that we're experiencing right now,
Mm.
and how like things could evolve in the future. And it's a good show. I think it's a good show for us right now because it does kind of give you an example of how what our worst fears are
Yeah.
don't actually end up turning out to be our worst fears, and how we adapt through each big change.
Mm.
um, so I highly suggest checking it out. You might like it, you might not. It is heavy, so expect heavy themes, and there is just it can feel a little too reflective of what we're
Well,
experiencing politically and everything, so like be aware that these things could trigger aspects of yourself, but I do think that it's an important lesson to see how like despite it even being fiction, it's just like how big things happen and we constantly adapt.
yeah. Well, it's that saying where it's like it's never as bad as it seems and it's never as good as it seems. Like it's never
Right,
as bad as it can be and it's never like generally as good as it can be as we hope for. So it's
right.
always like somewhere in between, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And this kind of touches on just, my ET perspective, and like when I think about technology, it is a very like tricky place to be, because like there's like you can go so far into the one end of the spectrum and then the other, but it's like, advanced civilization, so to say, have like advanced technology, and it could be helpful, like when we think about like space travel, or like the way maybe we connect with our environment or utilize our environment or restore our environment. Like we can create renewable technology, we can create like energy generating technology that isn't extractive, but something that's more like working in alignment with elements. So like I see and I feel it in the collective, and even within myself, like when it comes to the word technology, the energy around that can be kind of like there's like fear there, but it's like, it doesn't have, it's not all bad, it's not all good, it's somewhere in the middle. So,
It's
and that,
important to be grounded through all of these
yeah,
changes and understand that we are incredibly adaptable. We
yeah,
really are. I mean, just think about, like, take time to reflect on your life and all of that you've been through and how you've adapted each time and where you are now, and like how you've overcome struggles and challenges, and just like we are immensely adaptable. And I think that understanding the gray scale of everything is a really important lesson for how you move through life in general.
yeah.
I love that we went through like all of these
Yeah,
different.
that was
Tell
like,
that we haven't had a podcast episode in a while because I guarantee if like we let ourselves, we could probably go
we
for
could
like
keep going. We could totally keep going. What we will share, because we haven't shared this yet, that it is sad to say that this live chat is going to be our last live chat for the foreseeable future. We're going to start recording our episodes and we'll share them. We'll upload them here on YouTube. You can expect them on Fridays, on YouTube and on Spotify.
and
And
Apple.
yeah, we like having a live conversation, but right now I think as far as our scheduling, while we're trying to figure things out, it's best to like have like the flexibility to record and then share on the scheduled day of Friday. And then maybe we'll pop in live on Instagram, or, we'll see how we feel. But yeah, this is gonna be our last live chat. So thank you, Mary, for holding it down in the chat. She's been sharing a lot. She's not a fan of AI. She says AI is a thief. It feels like an invader. I feel violated by its existence, and I appreciate technology, but humanity can be toxic. Oh, I'm gonna share with you this post, this reel that I came across, and she was talking about we have lost our faith in humanity. Not, I forgot what it was. It was a very emotionally eliciting first statement, and I was like, but I like
Share it
the,
with me too.
yeah, I'll share it with you too. But it
No,
was
and I
just about more like channeling and just like humanity. It's like, we're, yeah, we've
well, and I
lost
think
that.
that when it comes to, I think an aspect of AI that makes us feel so icky too is that the people who are in charge of making it, there are people
Oh
who
yeah, yeah.
aren't, like, the person you were talking about. They seem to have a grounded perspective and they're intentional in maybe a more healthy and positive way. But a
Mhm.
lot of the people who are making these, widely used AI platforms, their intentions are not good. I
Yeah.
mean, you can watch videos of them and they'll talk about, they say, yeah, this is terrible for the environment. Yeah, we're going to capitalize on people getting hooked on this. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
like they're giving us, they're being honest
And
about
also
their
they're making
intentions.
money from like taking our data.
Right.
Like,
And they don't care that like these data centers are causing like water shortages and issues for the communities that they're built in. And they don't care that, it's going to cause X, Y, and Z. They only care about themselves. And I think when you have a creator of something who has like, I don't want to say evil intentions because I don't necessarily feel like that's a good word for it, but like
Chat GPT did start out like with good intentions. It was a co-op thing. It wasn't meant to be the demon, let's say that. That
right,
it's
right.
now, but I think it's like, but money came in the picture and it really took off. And so now it's like we get extractive. We want to take as much as we can out of this. And we're like, oh, like, so yeah, it people have to be grounded. You have to like really have a strong intention of what you're doing this for. And the person
Right. And
it's
who's
it's always a
profiting from
reflection of who, right? It's a reflection of who the creator is of
right.
the AI, which is what you were saying. So it's
But I
like,
do think that this was necessary for a lot of us to recognize just how toxic these things can be. And like I said before, like I think it's really inspiring people to get out, touch grass, get off their phone, do things for themselves, create for themselves, and enjoy the journey, enjoy the process. Um, so it's yeah, it's there's a lot of things that have happened that I think happened for on purpose because of X, Y, and Z. You know, it's like the pendulum is always swinging. You know, right now even politically, like you know, the pendulum will swing back. I am very positive and optimistic, despite it being and feeling so bad right now. I feel that pendulum is going to swing back and things are going to start to get more progressive and we're going to start to, and then the people will get angry about that progression and then the pendulum will swing back to that other side and we'll have to go
we're
through
just
all
gonna
this.
be in our own little pockets. It's like, where are
Yes,
my people? I'm moving to that place. I mean, and
exactly.
hopefully, yeah, who knows? Maybe we'll be like the Mayans where we'll just like disappear and they're like, what happened to those people? We just ascended out of like this plane of existence. Like, we're not dealing
Imagine
with
you
this.
just
Like, we're done.
disappearing, just like,
We've gathered to the point where we could just get the F out of here and like, yeah. So,
like screaming to the UFOs to bring
right?
us
It's like,
somewhere else.
get me. Yes. Y'all know I'm gone. I'm like,
Yes.
I'm out. Okay, so we're gonna share an oracle message as we always do. I already received mine because I wanted to like tap into the energy that we're just talking about because it was very strong. And this is very perfect for the summer solstice that is on the 21st. So in a couple days, it is drawing down the sun with the number
Ooh.
22. The key word here is wildfire, divine masculine, magnificence, and witness. And what I'll say, just tapping it, like I said, I feel like this is um the at least the northern hemisphere summer solstice energy, which is like wildfire. You think of like it's a natural destructive creative process, like we
Right.
like with natural wildfires it's like burning away, to give way for like the new growth. So as we're
Right.
talking about like all this crazy stuff, it's making way for us to understand what we really desire, and hopefully we will take action towards that. So the interpretation of this says, the sun warmly invites you to view the situation from its perspective, illuminate the path for yourself, and blaze a trail for others. Be patient with your inner flame and make sure not to burn bridges. Take hold of your masculine form and prepare to fight for what you believe in. If you need a boost to a situation, the sun will set you free. So very
Ooh, I
simple,
love
very
that.
point. And what I get from this too is like with the sun, there's that confidence, there is that passion, that life force energy. And, here in the Northern Hemisphere, this is a very active time of year. We're definitely coming into summer. And so it's like, utilize your actions wisely with discernment and be out in the sun, get that vitamin D. Like,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. I feel like we all need it. We all need that energy because, you know, I feel like things are heavy and dark right now for a lot of us. So bringing in that light is very important. We need balance, and I think this is an important time to call that in.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
So I also got mine, and I actually got mine in the beginning. I was shuffling and it flew out, so I just put it aside. So the card that I got, actually, hold on, let me see, is change.
Mm,
Number 5, obviously.
yeah.
So the starting sentence is embrace all seasons. The way you move through life will be defined by your ability to deal with change. Seasons shift and it is inevitable. It won't be summer forever. It won't be winter forever. Laughter doesn't last, and sadness doesn't also. Embrace all seasons, for they all serve their purpose in this great cycle of life. Allow yourself to rest. You can't bloom forever. And then allow yourself to be reborn and flourish over and over again. If you're going through changes in your life, be patient with yourself, even if it's a change for the better. It might still feel overwhelming and unsettling. If ungrounded, tend to your roots. So I really feel called out by this personally. But I do think this is a really important card for all of us to remember because we all are going through our own situations and experiences, and a lot of us are going through some really hard times. It's just like the um oh my goodness, oh my God, the wheel of fortune. What goes up must come down, and what is down must go back up. You have to embrace all of the seasons of your life and learn and grow and adapt and evolve, and also just be patient with yourself. Like, be patient because you're never going to get things immediately. It doesn't work that way. If you want to learn a new skill, if you want to build a business, if you want to, do X, Y, and Z, it takes time, energy, effort. A good way to kind of look at this is like what your future self has is what you want now. So put your energy towards working towards what you want, and you'll get there. No matter what, a year is going to pass, 2 years is going to pass. And if you do tiny steps to your end goal, you're going to get to your goal. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because a lot of the times we feel like things are too monumental, too immense to actually tackle. But you don't have to tackle it all at once, and you'll get there. And it goes hand in hand with working with the seasons, working with your motivation, inspiration. If you're having a very inspirational, motivated day, tap into that. Go ham. And then if the next day you're on the couch and you can't do anything, that's okay. You needed rest. So just feel yourself, feel your body, move with the waves of what feels right for you, and embrace all of the change that you're experiencing in the ways that you can. It's life. We ride with the tides because there's no other choice.
Yeah. Wow. Both of those cards were very reflective of like the beginning of the conversation and the ending with the changes, as we were talking about, like all the changes we've been experiencing and how we've been in these low periods, and even with the dream cycle and our connection to our dream space and our dream recall and the recording and all of that, that all goes through changes in its own cycle. And just like holding space for that is really important, and just showing
Right.
up in like your like beingness, just like embracing that moment and letting it be okay. And then at the end of the conversation, we spoke a lot about our own personal power, our own creativity, and standing up for what we believe in, and really tapping into our personal power and collective power. And that made sense with the drawing down the sun. So, I mean, that really came together full circle. This was so nice to be back. This is a really great conversation.
I miss this so much.
I know.
Like, sometimes you don't realize how much you need something until it's not there anymore. And
I
then you're like,
know.
oh my God, like this is a part of my life force. It brings inspiration, motivation. It's fun. Our brains are just going crazy. Like, I love it. I love it. So I'm so happy we're back. And even though we won't be live, like, these conversations are going to be just as riveting as when
Feel
we
free
are.
to comment on our posts, our videos,
Yeah.
and
Interact with us.
interact with us. If you are really, really wanting us to be live, like if that's like you miss it, like let us know, because
Yeah,
that will
absolutely.
inspire us. If it's something that people want, like we can make that happen, or we'll go live on Instagram, or we'll do like a special chat here on YouTube and go live. So,
Yeah.
but right now we are, again, with the changes, we're honoring the organic energy and like what is best for us at this time in our life. And yay, I love the support here. So we have La Luna Amor, says, hi, so sorry for coming in late. And then they go on to say, I had a dream on the night of the Gemini new moon about a friend I yearned to be closer with. She's a Gemini moon, and the dream was about seeing her hold herself as a baby and watching her inner child. It was healing. Wow.
That's so beautiful. I hope you
That
talk to her about it too, because as healing as it was within the dream space for you, I'm sure it was incredibly healing. It would be incredibly healing for her to have that idea and imagery come through, you know, and could bring you guys closer together just by you sharing the dream.
and like I'm curious too if, there's something like you said you yearn to be closer with her, and I'm curious if like what it is about her that you're like longing to connect with again, because I feel like the baby can represent a new beginning of that within you, a new beginning of
Mm-hmm.
reconnection, and just that excitement just for you and your own inner child as well. So that's really, really cool. And thank you so much for sharing that.
Absolutely. And just another point on that too, when you have time away from people, I believe that it's necessary to have space. Everything happens for a reason. I don't know if that's the right sentence for this or anything, but when it comes to relationships, sometimes you need to evolve and grow on your own for the relationship to be better.
Mhm.
So
Great.
maybe the baby really represents how both of you have changed and how that can strengthen this relationship. And if you're yearning to have that, you know, relationship with her, the communication, don't hold yourself back. Reach out to her. Especially if it's like a relationship that is meant to be mended or strengthened, I should say. She could be feeling the same exact way.
That's what I
So
was thinking.
yeah, thank you for sharing. Yes, thank you for sharing. Those dreams, even if it was a brief, like a quick dream, like it seems like it was a quick one, there's just so much meaning and understanding and emotion towards it. And it can really help you with your path forward and how you go about relationships and in your day-to-day life. So I'm interested in how this evolves.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for showing up in the chat and sharing that. Thanks, Mary, for sharing. And Alexis, I'm so glad that we're back. And we will be sharing an episode next week. We'll get back into our tarot and dream series, which will be talking about the Emperor and dreams. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, everyone, sweet dreams.
Sweet dreams.